The space station floated quietly above Earth. Inside, people from different planets worked together. Humans walked beside aliens with strange bodies and unusual faces. Everyone had learned to live together in peace. Minji walked through the medical wing with a cup of coffee in her hands. She was tired. The young woman had worked all night helping a sick alien recover from surgery. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. Her white coat had a few stains on it from the long shift. She was a veterinarian. But in space, that word meant something different. Minji treated animals from Earth and creatures from other worlds. Some had fur, some had scales, some had things she could not even name. Every day brought new challenges. The door to her clinic slid open with a soft sound. Minji looked up and almost dropped her coffee. A massive creature lay on a floating platform. It had 6 legs, each one thick with muscle. Its body was covered in dark purple fur that looked soft but dangerous. The head was large with a mouth full of sharp teeth. But what caught Minji's attention were the eyes. The creature had 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows of 3. Right now, all of them were closed. Behind the platform stood an alien. He was tall, maybe 8 feet high. His skin was blue and smooth. He had 4 arms instead of 2. His face was humanoid but longer, with golden eyes that looked sad. "You are the human veterinarian?" the alien asked. His voice came through a translator device on his chest. "Yes, I am Minji," she said. She put down her coffee and walked closer. "What happened to your companion?" The alien's name was Theron. He was an ambassador from a planet called Velkar. His people were proud warriors who had explored space for thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. "This is my razor cat," Theron explained. "His name is Baram. He has been with me for 10 years. We have hunted together on 7 different worlds. He is more than a pet. He is my partner." Minji moved around the platform, examining the creature carefully. She could see that Baram was very sick. His breathing was shallow and weak. His beautiful fur had lost its shine. One of his back legs twitched occasionally, like he was having bad dreams. "What is wrong with him?" she asked. Theron's 4 hands moved nervously. 3 weeks ago, we visited a jungle planet. Baram hunted a creature there. He ate part of it, as is his nature. The next day, he became ill. Our doctors have tried everything. They say the virus is killing him. They say nothing can be done. Minji pulled out her scanner. It was a device that could read the health of almost any living thing. She ran it over Baram's body slowly. The results made her frown. "This is bad," she said quietly. "The virus has spread through his entire system. It is attacking his organs." "I know," Theron said. His voice was heavy with sadness. "That is why I brought him here. The other Velkari told me I was foolish. They said humans are too weak to help. They said your medicine is primitive compared to ours." Minji looked up at him. "Then why did you come?" Theron was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because I have heard stories about humans. Stories that my people think are just myths. They say humans do not give up. They say humans care for creatures in ways we do not understand. They say humans have big hearts even though they have small bodies. Those stories are true," Minji said with a small smile. "But I need to be honest with you. I have never treated a razor cat before. I do not know if I can save him." "But you will try?" Theron asked. His golden eyes looked at her with hope. "Yes," Minji said. "I will try with everything I have." Theron reached into a pouch on his belt. He pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with soft blue light. "This is a Velkari honor stone," he said. "I give it to you. If Baram dies, you keep it as payment for your effort. If he lives," Theron paused. "If he lives, I will owe you a debt that can never be repaid." Minji took the crystal carefully. It was warm in her hand. "I do not want payment. I just want to help." This confused Theron. On his world, everything had a price. Nothing was done without expecting something in return. But he did not argue. He simply nodded and stepped back. Minji got to work immediately. She called her assistant, a young man named Taman. He was still learning, but he was good at following instructions. Together, they moved Baram into the intensive care room. The room was white and clean. Machines lined the walls. Each one could monitor different parts of a patient's body. Minji connected several tubes to Baram. One gave him fluids. Another gave him medicine to help with pain. A third one would take samples of his blood for testing. "His temperature is very high," Taman said, reading the monitors. "Much higher than it should be for his species." "The virus is making his body fight itself," Minji explained. "We need to bring that temperature down slowly. Too fast, and we could damage his organs even more. She worked through the night. Taman stayed with her even though his shift had ended hours ago. They tried different medicines. They adjusted the machines. They watched Bahram's vital signs carefully. Outside the room, other aliens gathered. Word had spread quickly through the station. A Velkari ambassador had given his dying razor cat to a human. Many came to watch. Some were curious. Some thought Theron was crazy. Some wanted to see what the human would do. Theron stayed closest to the window. His forearms were crossed over his chest. He did not eat. He did not sleep. He just watched. Inside the room, Minji examined the blood samples under a microscope. The virus was strange. It looked like nothing she had seen before. But there was something familiar about it too. Something that tickled the back of her mind. Taman, pull up the Earth disease database, she said. Search for ancient viruses. Ones that are extinct now. Taman typed quickly on the computer. Images and data filled the screen. Hundreds of old diseases that had once killed humans but were now gone. Wiped out by medicine and vaccines. Minji scrolled through them slowly. Then she stopped. Her eyes went wide. There, she said, pointing at the screen. That one. The structure is similar. It was a virus that had killed millions of humans thousands of years ago, but humanity had survived it. They had developed immunity over generations. Now every human carried antibodies against it in their blood. Do you think, Taman started to ask. I think this alien virus might be related to an old Earth disease, Minji said. Her mind was racing. If that is true, then maybe human antibodies could fight it. But he is not human, Taman pointed out. Would human antibodies even work in his body? I do not know, Minji admitted. But I have an idea. She walked to the supply cabinet and pulled out a kit. It was a blood transfusion kit. She also grabbed several vials and needles. What are you doing? Taman asked. I'm going to try something that has never been done before, Minji said. I am going to create a hybrid treatment. Part alien medicine, part human biology. She sat down and rolled up her sleeve. Carefully, she drew several vials of her own blood. The dark red liquid filled the containers one by one. Taman watched with concern. Are you sure about this? No, Minji said honestly. But I am out of other options. This virus is killing Bahram. If I do nothing, he will die within a few days. If I try this and fail, he will die anyway. But if I try this and succeed, and she did not finish the sentence. Instead, she got back to work. Using advanced equipment, Minji separated the plasma from her blood. Plasma was the liquid part that carried antibodies. Then she synthesized it with Velkari medicine. The process took hours. She had to be very careful about measurements and temperatures. Outside, dawn broke over Earth. The planet looked beautiful from the station. Blue and white and green, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Theron still stood at the window. He had not moved all night. Other Velkari had come to see him. They had argued with him in their language. They said he was dishonoring their people by trusting a human. They said he should let Bahram die with dignity, rather than let a primitive alien experiment on him. But Theron had sent them all away. He believed in Minji. He did not know why. Maybe it was the way she had looked at Bahram, not with fear or disgust, but with compassion, like she truly cared about saving him. Inside the room, Minji held up a syringe filled with pale yellow liquid. This was it, the hybrid treatment. A combination of human and alien medicine that might save Bahram's life, or might kill him faster. Are you ready? She asked Taman. He nodded, though his hands shook slightly. Minji walked to Bahram's side. The huge creature looked so weak now. His breathing was barely visible. His 6 eyes remained closed. She placed one hand gently on his head, feeling the soft fur. Please work, she whispered. Then she injected the treatment into his bloodstream. The first day after the injection was the hardest. Minji did not leave the intensive care room. She ate her meals there, standing up, watching the monitors constantly. Taman brought her food and coffee. He tried to convince her to rest, but she refused. Bahram's condition did not improve. In fact, it seemed to get worse. His temperature spiked higher. His breathing became more difficult. The machines beeped warnings several times. Each time, Minji's heart jumped into her throat. Theron pressed his face against the observation window. His golden eyes were filled with worry. Other aliens came and went, but he stayed, always watching, always hoping. On the second day, Minji's supervisor came to check on her. His name was Dr. Hyun. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had worked in space medicine for 20 years. "Minji, you need to rest," he said firmly. "You have been awake for over 40 hours. "I cannot leave him," she said, adjusting one of the IV tubes connected to Bahram. "If something changes, I need to be here." Dr. Hyun looked at the monitors. He frowned. "His vital signs are getting worse. Maybe it is time to accept that this treatment is not working." "It needs more time," Minji insisted. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. Her hands moved with automatic precision, checking tubes and readings. "Time is something he does not have," Dr. Hyun said gently. "The Velkari ambassador should prepare himself. This creature is dying." Minji turned to face him. Her jaw was set with determination. "I am not giving up." "Not yet," Dr. Hyun sighed. He had seen this before. Young doctors who became too attached to their patients, who refused to accept when nothing more could be done. But he also saw something else in Minji's eyes, a certainty that made him pause. 24 more hours, he said finally. "If there is no improvement by then, we stop the treatment." "Agreed?" Minji nodded. "Agreed." Dr. Hyun left. Minji went back to her work. She took more blood samples from Bahram. Under the microscope, she could see the virus and her antibodies fighting a war inside his body. But who was winning? She could not tell yet. Taemin brought her dinner that evening. It was rice and vegetables, simple but warm. She ate it without really tasting it. Her mind was far away, thinking about cells and antibodies and immune responses. "The other aliens are talking," Taemin said quietly. "They say you are wasting your time. They say humans should not interfere with Velkari matters." "Let them talk," Minji said. She was too tired to care about gossip. "They also say that razor cats are dangerous," Taemin continued. "That they have killed many Velkari throughout history. Some people are afraid. They wonder why we are trying to save a predator that might attack us." Minji looked at Bahram's still form. Even sick and weak, he was impressive. His muscles, his claws, his powerful jaw, everything about him was designed for hunting and killing. But when she touched his fur, all she felt was a living being in pain. "Fear makes people say foolish things," she said softly. "Bahram is not our enemy. He is a patient who needs help." Night came again. The station dimmed its lights to simulate evening. Most people went to sleep. But Minji stayed awake watching over Bahram. She pulled a chair close to him and sat down. Her hand rested on his side, feeling his breathing. "You have to fight," she whispered to him. "I know you are tired. I know it hurts. But you have to keep fighting." The machines beeped steadily. His heartbeat was weak but constant. Minji's eyes grew heavy. She fought against sleep, but eventually she lost. Her head dropped onto her arms and she dozed off sitting in the chair. She woke suddenly to the sound of alarms. Her heart raced as she jumped up. The monitor showed Bahram's vital signs dropping rapidly. His temperature had spiked dangerously high. His breathing had become almost nothing. "No, no, no," Minji said, rushing to the medicine cabinet. Her hands moved fast, preparing an emergency injection. This was it. The critical moment. Taemin burst through the door. He must have been sleeping in the next room. "What is happening?" "His body is rejecting the treatment," Minji said, her voice shaking. "Or the virus is winning. I do not know." She prepared to give Bahram another dose of medicine, but then she stopped. Her medical training fought against her instinct. More medicine might help, or it might push his already stressed body too far. Outside, Theron stood with his 4 hands pressed against the window. He could see the emergency happening. His face showed pain and loss. Minji stood frozen, the syringe in her hand. Make a choice. Do something or do nothing. Both could kill him. Then Bahram's body twitched. Just a small movement in one of his back legs, then another twitch in his tail. His breathing suddenly became deeper, stronger. Minji watched in amazement as the monitor readings began to change. His temperature started to drop. His heart rate steadied. His oxygen levels improved. "What is happening?" Taemin asked, staring at the screens. "I think," Minji said slowly, "I think his body just figured out how to use the antibodies." The crisis was not rejection. It was transformation. Over the next hour, they watched Bahram's condition improve rapidly. It was like watching a flower bloom in fast motion. His breathing became normal. His temperature returned to healthy levels. Even his fur seemed to regain some of its shine. Minji took another blood sample and examined it immediately. What she saw made her gasp. Taman, look at this, she said, motioning him to the microscope. He looked and his eyes went wide. The virus is disappearing. Not just disappearing, Minji corrected him. Being destroyed. Look at his white blood cells. They are attacking the virus with incredible efficiency. But how? Taman asked. Minji sat back, her mind working through the science. The human antibodies taught his immune system how to fight. It was like giving his body a blueprint. Now his own cells are producing something similar, a hybrid defense system that is both human and Velkari. She ran more tests through the rest of the night. Each result was better than the last. The virus that had been everywhere in his system was now being eliminated rapidly. His organs were healing. His body was repairing itself. When dawn broke on the third day, Minji finally allowed herself to believe it. Barum was going to live. She walked to the observation window where Theron still stood. He looked at her with desperate hope in his golden eyes. He is going to survive, she said simply. Theron's entire body seemed to sag with relief. His forearms dropped to his sides. He made a sound that the translator could not interpret. It might have been a sob. How? He managed to ask. Our best doctor said it was impossible. The treatment worked, Minji explained. His immune system learned from human antibodies. Now he can fight the virus on his own. Theron struggled for words. This should not be possible. Humans and Velkari biology are completely different. Life finds a way, Minji said with a tired smile. That is what my professor used to tell me. By midday, Barum opened his eyes. All 6 of them. They were beautiful, Minji thought. Green and gold with vertical pupils. They looked around the room slowly, trying to understand where he was. Minji approached carefully. Even sick, a razor cat was dangerous, but she spoke softly, calmly. Hello, Barum, you are safe. You are getting better. The great beast's eyes focused on her. His nose twitched, taking in her scent. Then incredibly, his body relaxed. He seemed to understand that she was not a threat. Theron was allowed into the room. He approached his companion with clear joy on his face. Barum, old friend. You came back to me, Barum made a sound. It was something between a purr and a growl. A happy sound. His tail moved slowly back and forth. Can I touch him? Minji asked. I need to check his wounds and vital signs. Be careful, Theron warned. He is weak, but his instincts are still strong. Minji moved slowly. She reached out and placed her hand on Barum's head. The fur was incredibly soft. She could feel the warmth of his body, the life returning to him. Barum's eyes half closed. He leaned into her touch slightly. This surprised everyone, including Theron. He likes you, Theron said with wonder in his voice. I have never seen him accept a stranger so quickly. Over the next few days, Barum's recovery continued at an amazing pace. Soon he was strong enough to stand on his 6 legs. Then he was walking around the room. His appetite returned and he ate large amounts of special meat that Theron provided. But something else was happening too. Something that confused the Velkari scientists who came to study him. Barum stayed close to Minji. When she entered the room, his eyes followed her. When she left, he would watch the door. If she was gone too long, he would make a low sound that seemed like worry. This is not normal razorcat behavior, one scientist said. His name was Korath and he had studied these creatures for many years. They do not form bonds with anyone except their primary handler, and certainly not with aliens from other species. Maybe the treatment changed more than just his immune system, another scientist suggested. They ran tests. They scanned Barum's brain. They compared his blood to other razor cats. What they found was remarkable. The human antibodies had not just saved his life. They had somehow integrated into his very cells. Every part of his body now carried traces of human biology. It was as if Minji had given him a tiny piece of herself. This is unprecedented, Korath said, looking at the results. His cells are producing a hybrid protein that has never existed before. Part Velkari, part human. What does that mean for him? Minji asked. We do not know yet, Korath admitted. Theron stood at the door of the medical wing with a special transport carrier. It was large and comfortable, designed for moving razor cats safely, but Barum would not go inside. The massive creature simply sat on the floor, his 6 legs planted firmly, his eyes watching Minji. Come, Barum, Theron said in his language. The translator made it sound like music. We are going home now. Barum did not move. Theron tried again, this time using the command voice that he had trained Barum to obey. All razor cats responded to this tone. It was how Velkari handlers controlled them. Still, Bahram did not move. His tail swished back and forth slowly. His 6 eyes remained fixed on Minji, who stood on the other side of the room. "I do not understand," Theron said, frustration creeping into his voice.
"He has always obeyed my commands." Dr. Hyun watched from the doorway with interest.
"Perhaps he feels safe here. This is where he recovered." "No," Korath said. The Velkari scientist had been studying Bahram for days now. "It is more than that. Look at his body language.
He is not afraid of leaving."
He is refusing to leave her." Everyone looked at Minji. She felt uncomfortable with all the attention. Maybe if I walk toward the carrier, he will follow. She moved slowly across the room. Bahram immediately stood and walked beside her. His large head reached her shoulder. When she stopped, he stopped. When she moved again, he matched her pace exactly. "Incredible," Korath whispered. "He has imprinted on her. What does that mean?" Minji asked. "Razor cats imprint on one being in their lifetime," Korath explained. "Usually their handler, the one who raised them from birth. It is a deep bond that cannot be broken, but Bahram already imprinted on Theron years ago. This should not be possible. Unless," another scientist said slowly, "the hybrid treatment changed his brain chemistry. We know his cells carry human proteins now. Perhaps his emotional responses have been altered too." Theron looked devastated. His forearms hung loosely at his sides. "So he no longer recognizes me as his companion?" "That is not quite right," Korath said, checking his scanner. "His brain still shows attachment to you. But his primary bond has shifted to Minji. In his mind, she saved his life. She healed him. She is now the most important being in his world." The room fell silent. Nobody knew what to say. This situation had never happened before in Velkari history. Finally, Minji spoke. "What if he stays here with me?" Theron turned to her sharply. "Stay here? On the human station?" "Just temporarily," Minji said quickly. "Until he adjusts. I can continue monitoring his recovery. And you can visit him whenever you want." Theron's face went through several emotions: pride, sadness, anger, and finally acceptance. He was a practical being. Fighting against this would only hurt Bahram. "If that is what must be," he said quietly, "then I agree. But I will visit him every day." "Of course," Minji said. "He needs you too. You are his family." So it was decided. Bahram would stay in the medical wing with Minji. They cleared out a large storage room and converted it into living space for him. It had soft padding on the floor, climbing structures that Taman built, and a window that looked out at the stars. Minji moved a desk into the corner so she could work while staying near him. She brought her computer, her files, and a small plant that she liked. The room became half animal habitat and half office. Bahram seemed happy with this arrangement. He would sleep in the middle of the room, his large body curled up like a cat. When Minji worked at her desk, he would sometimes come and lay his head near her feet. His purring was so deep that it made the floor vibrate. The other humans on the station were nervous at first. A Razorket was a predator from another world. His claws could cut through metal. His bite could crush bones. Parents kept their children away from the medical wing, but Minji worked to change their minds. She invited small groups to meet Bahram under controlled conditions. She showed them how gentle he could be, how intelligent, how he understood not to use his strength around fragile beings. One day, a little girl named Unji wandered into the medical wing. She was only 6 years old. She had gotten lost looking for her mother. When she saw Bahram, she stopped and stared. Bahram stared back. The huge predator and the tiny human child looked at each other across the room. Minji's heart jumped into her throat. She moved carefully toward Unji, ready to grab her if needed. "Unji, stay very still," she said softly, but Unji did not look afraid. Instead, she smiled. "Big kitty," she said with wonder in her voice. Bahram moved forward slowly. Each step was careful and controlled. He lowered his head until it was level with Unji's face. His 6 eyes blinked gently. Unji reached out one small hand. She touched his nose. Bahram's tail swished once, twice, then he made a soft purring sound. "He is friendly," Unji announced happily. Minji relaxed slightly, though her heart still raced. "Yes, but you should always ask before touching animals. Even friendly ones. Can I pet him?" Unji asked. Minji looked at Bahram. He seemed calm, content, like he understood that this was a child and needed to be gentle. Yes, but very softly. Yunji petted his head with both hands. Her fingers barely made a dent in his thick fur. She giggled when he purred louder. Yunji's mother arrived moments later, panicked and worried. When she saw her daughter with the razor cat, she screamed. But Minji quickly explained that everything was fine, that Baram was safe. Word of this spread quickly. If the razor cat could be gentle with a child, maybe he was not so dangerous after all. More people came to visit. They brought their children. They took pictures. Baram became something of a celebrity on the station. Theron visited every day as he had promised. He would sit with Baram and talk to him in the Velkari language. They would share meals together. Sometimes Theron would bring hunting videos from their homeworld, and they would watch them on a screen. But when visiting hours ended, Baram would walk back to Minji. He would curl up near her desk while she worked. At night, he would sleep nearby, always keeping her in his line of sight. "He is protecting you," Theron observed one day. "That is his instinct. Prazorkets protect what they consider theirs." "I am not his possession," Minji said with a slight frown. "No, not possession," Theron corrected. "Family. You are his family now, just as I am. But you are his primary family, the one he would die to protect." This made Minji uncomfortable. She had never wanted that responsibility. She had only wanted to save a sick animal. Now she had somehow become the center of this creature's world. Weeks passed. Baram continued to grow stronger. The Velkari scientists continued their studies. They published papers about the hybrid treatment, about the successful cross-species medical intervention, about the unprecedented bonding behavior. Other aliens began to approach Minji with their sick animals. Could she treat a Thalorian sandcrawler? Could she help a Vortan wingbeast? Word spread that the human veterinarian could do miracles. She did her best, but she was honest with everyone. "I cannot promise miracles. I can only promise that I will try my hardest." Sometimes she succeeded. Sometimes she failed, but people appreciated her effort and her honesty. They appreciated that she cared about alien creatures as much as Earth animals. One evening, Minji sat at her desk reviewing medical files. Baram was asleep behind her, his breathing slow and steady. The station was quiet. Most people had gone to bed. There was a knock on the door. Minji looked up surprised. Visitors were rare this late. She opened the door to find Theron standing there. But he was not alone. 5 other Velkari stood with him. They wore formal robes marked with symbols Minji did not recognize. "These are the elders of my clan," Theron explained. "They have come from our homeworld to meet you." Minji suddenly felt very small and underdressed. She was wearing old scrubs with a coffee stain on the front. Her hair was messy. She had not expected important visitors. "Please come in," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The elders entered slowly. Their golden eyes examined everything. They looked at the room, at the medical equipment, at Baram sleeping peacefully in the corner. The oldest elder spoke first. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stones. The translator made it sound formal. "We have traveled far to see the human who saved a razor cat, who did what our finest doctors said was impossible. I just used the tools I had," Minji said simply. "And I got lucky." "Luck?" Another elder said. "We have studied the reports. Your treatment required skill, knowledge, and innovation. That is not luck." The oldest elder walked to Baram. The great beast woke at his approach. For a moment, tension filled the room. Prazorkats were dangerous when startled, but Baram simply looked at the elder, then at Minji, then relaxed again. "Remarkable," the elder said. "This razor cat has changed. We can see it, feel it. He is more than what he was." "The treatment altered his biology," Minji explained. She pulled up her research on the computer. "His cells now produce a hybrid protein. It makes him stronger and healthier." "We know this," the elder said. "But what interests us more is the bond, the connection between species, between human and Velkari life." He turned to face Minji directly. "My people have been spacefarers for millennia. We have met hundreds of alien races. We have formed alliances and fought wars. But never have we seen such a deep connection form so quickly between different species. Baram and I just understand each other," Minji said, feeling awkward under their intense stares. "More than understanding," another elder said. 6 months passed since Baram recovered. The space station had become busier than ever. More aliens arrived every week, bringing sick companions and asking for Minji's help. She worked long hours but never complained. She had hired 2 more assistants to help manage all the patients. Taman was promoted to lead assistant. He had learned so much working with Minji. Now he could handle many cases by himself. They made a good team. Bahram had grown even larger and stronger. The hybrid proteins in his body had changed him in ways the scientists were still studying. His reflexes were faster than any normal razor cat. His strength had increased. Even his intelligence seemed higher. He spent most of his time with Minji, but he had also become friends with some of the station's inhabitants. The children especially loved him. He would let them climb on his back and ride around the medical wing. He was always gentle, always careful. Theron visited less frequently now. His duties as ambassador kept him busy. But he and Bahram still had a connection. When they met, Bahram would greet him warmly, and they would spend time together like old friends. Everything seemed peaceful, normal, safe. Then the Krell arrived. The Krell were a warrior race from the outer rim of the galaxy. They were humanoid but covered in thick gray scales. They had red eyes and sharp teeth. They valued strength above all else and saw diplomacy as weakness. Nobody on the station knew the Krell were coming. They attacked without warning. It was a quiet afternoon. Minji was treating a small flying creature from the Andorian system. Bahram was napping in his usual spot. Taman was organizing medicine supplies. Then the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the station. A voice came over the speakers. "Emergency! Emergency! We are under attack. All personnel evacuate to safe zones." Minji's heart jumped. Attack? Who would attack a peaceful diplomatic station? She ran to the door and looked out into the corridor. People were running in panic. Humans, aliens, everyone mixed together in chaos. She could hear explosions in the distance. The sound of metal tearing, screams. "Taman!" she shouted. "Get the patients to the emergency shelter." Taman nodded, his face pale with fear. He began moving the cages with animals toward the back exit. Bahram was instantly alert. He stood up, his body tense. His 6 eyes were wide and focused. A low growl came from deep in his chest. "It is okay, Bahram," Minji said, trying to keep her voice calm. "We are going to be fine." But she did not believe her own words. More explosions. Closer now. The station shook. Lights flickered. Somewhere above them, glass shattered. Minji heard heavy footsteps in the corridor, not running like everyone else. These were slow, methodical. The footsteps of soldiers advancing. She looked around desperately for a weapon. The medical wing had scalpels, but what good would those be? She grabbed the largest one she could find and held it with a shaking hand. The door to the medical wing exploded inward. 3 Krell warriors stood in the opening. They wore black armor and carried energy weapons. Their red eyes scanned the room. "Humans," one of them said. The translator made his voice sound rough and cold. "You will come with us." "Why?" Minji asked, backing away slowly. "What do you want?" "Human genetic material is valuable," the Krell leader said. He stepped into the room. "Your species has interesting traits, adaptability, resilience. We will study you. Take you apart. Learn your secrets." Minji felt ice in her stomach. They were talking about her like she was a lab experiment, like she was not a person. "You cannot do this," she said, trying to sound brave. "This is a diplomatic station. Attacking it is against galactic law." The Krell laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Laws are for the weak. We take what we want." He raised his weapon. Minji closed her eyes, preparing for pain or death or whatever came next. But then she heard a roar. Not a human sound. Not even a sound that should come from any living creature. It was pure rage-given voice. The sound of a predator protecting its family. Bahram launched himself at the Krell warriors with incredible speed. He moved like lightning, like a force of nature. His claws, which he always kept retracted around humans, extended fully. They were as long as knives and sharp enough to cut through almost anything. The first Krell warrior went down immediately. Bahram's claws tore through his armor like paper. The second warrior tried to shoot, but Bahram was too fast. He was already on top of him, teeth flashing. The third warrior, the leader, managed to fire his weapon. The energy blast hit Bahram's shoulder. It should have killed him, should have burned through his flesh and bone. But Bahram barely flinched. The hybrid proteins in his body had made him resistant to energy weapons. The wound was there, but shallow. It only made him angrier. He slammed into the leader with his full weight. The Krell warrior crashed against the wall. His armor cracked. His weapon fell from his hands. Bahram stood over him, all 6 eyes blazing with fury. His mouth was open, showing teeth that could bite through steel. He was terrifying. He was magnificent. He was protecting Minji. The Krell leader looked up at Death Incarnate, and for the first time his red eyes showed fear. "Baram, stop," Minji shouted. The Razor Cat paused. He did not kill the Krell leader. Instead, he placed one massive paw on the alien's chest, pinning him down. A warning. Hurt her again and you die. More footsteps in the corridor. More Krell warriors coming. Minji could hear them organizing, planning their next attack. "We need to get to the emergency shelter," Taemin said. He had gotten all the animals to safety and come back for Minji. "Go," Minji said. "Take the animals and run." "Not without you," Taemin insisted. Before Minji could argue, more Krell burst into the room. 6 of them this time. They saw their fallen comrades and their leader pinned beneath the Razor Cat. Their weapons came up, but this time they were not alone. Other people had heard the fighting. Theron arrived with a group of Velkari warriors. They had weapons of their own. Behind them came humans from the station's security force. A battle erupted in the medical wing. Energy blasts flew everywhere. The Krell fought hard, but they were outnumbered. The Velkari warriors fought with precise skill. The human security guards used tactics and teamwork, and in the middle of it all was Baram. He moved through the combat like a dancer. Every motion was perfect, deadly, controlled. He protected Minji above all else, always keeping his body between her and danger. One Krell tried to circle around and grab her from behind. Baram sensed it somehow. He spun and caught the warrior mid-leap. They crashed to the ground together. Another Krell aimed at Minji from across the room. Before he could fire, a human security guard tackled him. They struggled for the weapon. Minji watched in horror and awe. These people were fighting for her, risking their lives to protect her. Humans and aliens working together against a common enemy. The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. When it ended, all the Krell warriors were either unconscious or restrained. The medical wing was a mess. Equipment was broken. Walls were scorched. But everyone was alive. Baram stood panting, his fur covered in blood. Some of it was his own from the energy blast wound. Most of it was not. He looked at Minji with all 6 eyes, checking that she was unharmed. "I am okay," she said softly. She walked to him and hugged his massive head. "You saved me," he purred. Even exhausted and wounded, he purred at her touch. Theron approached, breathing heavily. The attack on the station was coordinated. The Krell hit multiple sections simultaneously. They were after human prisoners. They wanted to capture as many as possible. "But why?" Minji asked. "Because," Theron said grimly, "word has spread through the galaxy about what you did. About the hybrid treatment. About human biology being able to heal alien diseases. The Krell want to study humans to weaponize your adaptability." Minji felt sick. Her treatment, which had been meant to save a life, had made humans a target more security forces arrived. They took the Krell prisoners away. Medical teams came to treat the wounded. Minji found herself checking injuries, falling back into her role as a doctor even though her hands shook. The station's commander arrived. His name was Commander Park. He was a stern man with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Is everyone in this section accounted for?" "Yes, sir," one of the security guards reported. "All civilians are safe, thanks to the Razor Cat and the quick response from Ambassador Theron's warriors." Commander Park looked at Baram with new respect. "I owe you an apology. When you first arrived, I thought you were a dangerous predator who should not be allowed on the station. I was wrong. You are a hero." Baram just tilted his head, not understanding the words but recognizing the tone of respect over the next hours. The full scope of the attack became clear. The Krell had sent 3 ships. They had breached the station in multiple locations. They had tried to capture over 50 humans before being repelled by the combined defense forces, but they had failed. Not a single human was taken. The attackers were either captured or forced to retreat. News of the attack spread quickly. By the next day, it was the top story on every galactic news network. People everywhere heard about how a peaceful diplomatic station had been attacked, how humans, Velkari, and other species had fought together to defend it. And they heard about Baram, the Razor Cat who had protected his human companion with legendary ferocity, who had taken on multiple armed warriors and won the Galactic Council called an emergency session. They condemned the attack. They placed sanctions on Krell space. 3 months after the attack, the space station had been rebuilt. It was stronger now, with better defenses and more security. But more importantly, it had become a symbol of cooperation between species, a symbol of what could be achieved when different peoples worked together. The medical wing was twice as large as before. Minji now had a team of 15 assistants. 5 were human. 10 were from different alien species. They all worked together, learning from each other, combining their knowledge of different biologies. Bahram had become famous across the galaxy. Videos of him fighting the Krell warriors had been shared billions of times. Some people called him a hero. Others called him a monster. But everyone agreed that he was remarkable. He still stayed close to Minji. That would never change. But he had also become more confident around others. He no longer stayed in the medical wing all day. Sometimes he would patrol the station with the security guards. Sometimes he would visit the school and let children learn about razor cats. He had found a purpose beyond just being a companion. Theron had been promoted. The Velkari government recognized his role in defending the station and improving relations with humanity. He was now the chief ambassador, responsible for coordinating all Velkari interactions with Earth. Who would have thought? Theron said to Minji one day. They were having tea in the observation lounge. Earth filled the window, beautiful and blue. 6 months ago, I came here desperate and grieving. I thought I was saying goodbye to my oldest friend. Now everything is different. Life is full of surprises, Minji said with a smile. She sipped her tea. Beside her chair, Bahram dozed peacefully. The elders want to establish an exchange program, Theron continued. Velkari doctors will come to Earth to learn human medicine. Human doctors will go to Velkar to study our techniques. Together we can advance healing across the galaxy. That is wonderful, Minji said. She meant it. This was what she had always dreamed of. Different species learning from each other, helping each other. A young assistant named Ji-won entered the lounge. She looked excited. Dr. Minji, you have visitors. They say it is urgent. Minji excused herself and followed Ji-won back to the medical wing. In the waiting room stood 3 aliens she had never seen before. They were tall and thin, with silver skin and large black eyes. Their species was called the Zenthari. Thank you for seeing us, the leader said through his translator. My name is Vorin. We have traveled far to meet you. What can I do for you? Minji asked. Vorin gestured to his companions. My people are dying. A plague has infected our homeworld. Our doctors cannot stop it. We have lost millions already. But we heard about what you did for the razor cat, how you combined human and alien medicine to achieve the impossible. We hope you can do the same for us. Minji felt the weight of his words. Millions dead, an entire species at risk. This was so much bigger than treating one sick animal. I do not know if I can help, she said honestly, but I will try. Tell me everything about this plague. Over the next weeks, Minji worked with the Zenthari to understand their disease. She consulted with doctors from a dozen different species. She analyzed samples, ran tests, and tried hundreds of different treatment combinations. It was harder than anything she had ever done. The plague was complex, constantly mutating, attacking the Zenthari immune system in ways she had never seen. But she did not give up. She remembered what her professor had told her in school. Life finds a way. As a doctor, your job is to help it find that way. Finally, after a month of constant work, she found a solution. Like with Bahram, it involved combining human antibodies with Zenthari medicine, but it also required genetic material from 3 other species. A truly hybrid treatment that represented the cooperation of 6 different worlds. The treatment worked. The plague was stopped. The Zenthari people were saved. News of this spread even faster than the story of Bahram's recovery. Minji became known as the doctor who bridges species, the one who could find solutions that others missed because she was willing to combine knowledge from anywhere. Requests for help came from everywhere. Minji could not answer them all. She was just one person, but she could teach others. She could share her methods. She could inspire a new generation of doctors who thought beyond the boundaries of their own species. Earth officially joined the Galactic Council. The ceremony was broadcast to billions of beings across the galaxy. Human leaders stood alongside alien ambassadors. They promised to work together for peace and prosperity. During the ceremony, a special award was announced. The Galactic Council had created a new honor called the Bridge Builder Award. would be given to individuals who brought different species together through their actions. The first recipient was Minji. She stood on the stage in front of representatives from hundreds of worlds. She felt small and overwhelmed. She was just a veterinarian who had tried to save a sick animal. How had it come to this? But when she looked out at the audience, she understood. Change did not always come from grand plans or powerful leaders. Sometimes it came from small acts of kindness, from refusing to give up, from caring about a life even when it seemed hopeless. "I am honored to receive this award," she said into the microphone. Her voice was amplified to fill the huge chamber. "But I did not do this alone. I had help from so many people. From Ambassador Theron, who trusted me with his companion. From Taman and my other assistants who supported me. From the scientists who studied the results. From the warriors who defended us during the attack. And most of all from Baram." She gestured to where Baram sat near the stage. The massive razor cat looked calm despite all the attention. His 6 eyes watched Minji with trust and affection. "Baram taught me that connections between species are possible," Minji continued. "That love and loyalty do not require being the same. That we can be family even when our biology is completely different. If a human and a razor cat can form such a deep bond, then surely all of our species can learn to work together." The audience applauded. It was a strange sound because different species applauded in different ways. Some clapped like humans. Some stamped their feet. Some made clicking sounds. But together it created a symphony of approval. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Minji found herself surrounded by ambassadors, scientists, and leaders. Everyone wanted to talk to her. Everyone had questions or requests or offers. She was polite to everyone, but eventually she needed a break. She slipped away from the crowd and found a quiet balcony overlooking the earth. Theron found her there a few minutes later. Baram was with him. The razor cat immediately went to Minji and pressed his head against her side. "Tired of being famous?" Theron asked with amusement in his voice. "Very tired," Minji admitted. "I just wanted to help sick animals. I never wanted all of this. But you deserve it," Theron said. "You changed the galaxy, Minji. You showed us that humans have something special. Not just advanced technology or military strength, something deeper. Compassion that extends beyond your own species. Determination to save lives even when it seems impossible. The ability to form genuine connections with beings completely different from you." He looked at Baram. "When I gave him to you, I thought I was giving him away to die. I thought I would never see him again. But you saved him. And in saving him, you saved so much more. You saved the Zenthari people. You helped bring humanity into the galactic community. You inspired countless others to think beyond the limits they had accepted." "I just did what felt right," Minji said quietly. "That is exactly the point," Theron replied. "Humans trust their instincts. You trust your heart. When Velkari doctors said Baram could not be saved, they accepted it. They had data and logic and centuries of medical knowledge that said it was impossible. But you looked at him and thought, I will try anyway. That is the human gift. The refusal to accept defeat." They stood in silence for a while, looking at Earth, the planet where humanity had evolved, the planet that had produced a species brave enough to reach for the stars, kind enough to care for alien life, and stubborn enough to never give up. "What happens now?" Minji asked. "Where do we go from here?" "Forward," Theron said simply. "Together. Humans and Velkari and Zenthari and all the other species. We learn from each other. We help each other. We build a better galaxy." "That sounds nice," Minji said, "but also very hard." "The best things usually are," Theron agreed. Baram made a soft sound. Not quite a purr, not quite a growl. A sound that meant he was content. That meant he was happy. Minji scratched behind his ears. Even after all these months, she still marveled at how soft his fur was. How gentle he could be despite all his strength. "I have been thinking," Theron said, "about making Baram's situation official. He lives with you now. He is bonded to you. Perhaps it is time to acknowledge that formally." "What do you mean?" Minji asked. "On Velkar, when a razor cat bonds with a new handler, there is a ceremony," Theron explained. "It recognizes the partnership. Gives it official status. I would like to perform that ceremony for you and Baram." Minji looked at the massive predator beside her. He looked back with all 6 eyes. In them she saw trust, affection, and loyalty. He had chosen her, not because she was strong or powerful, but because she had cared enough to save his life. "Yes," she said, "I would like that." The ceremony was held a week later.